let's see that today you are sitting in your cabin, your accounts person informs you, sir, we have received $10,000. What exporter is required to do? He has to take a guideline from your FEMA for your banking rules, from PEDI guideline. Then he has to apply to the bank for FIRC, Foreign Inward Remittance Certificates. Up to here you know, I'll tell you the technique of it. So you make an application like a simple letter, there is no format of that. Sir, we have received this, you give it to us. You get the FIRC, you get it, you file it up. When you really go for a use, there is a problem. How? I'll explain. In FIRC, I'm too sure many of you must have seen it. Just see the last column. Last column, the wording is there, purpose of remittance. Now, if you read carefully, it says, I'm going a little slow, just pay attention. Purpose of this remittance as declared by the remitter, sender. Now, how it works? Say, for example, $10,000 I got it from Taiwan. My Taiwanese party who has sent to me, when he goes to his bank, give the instructions to send a $10,000. $10,000 will come. In the SWIFT message through which this money is transferred, in that message, there is a proviso, empty they call it. In that they write the message. So they write the message, this is for the payment of a pro forma invoice number so and so. If they do write, it will reflect in mine. But 8 out of 10 times, it so happened that the overseas party sent the money without writing anything. This is a practical difficulty. So what happened? The banker also, angutha chap, whatever is come, they print and give it to you. No friends, don't take it. You read that very carefully. The last sentence, what it says, purpose of the remittance as declared by the remitter / receivers. So if they have not given, you have an option. You have to exercise that option at the time of taking that. Once you take it, bank, many of the time take a stand, you have not mentioned it. And you will be in trouble, that FIRC will become a tissue paper. So, be careful. The provision is very, very clear. It should be a perfect, it should be total, it should be complete FIRC what you have to receive. You have to give it. Now, I'll tell you the practical tip over there, which is not written in any of the book. If you try to be very honest, I'm not saying don't be, I'm telling you what difficulties it comes. Suppose this particular buyer has sent you $10,000 for your export pro forma invoice number 10. So if you are honest, what will you write it? Against advance against pro forma invoice number 10. You are stuck up. You have to use that payment against that shipment only. But instead if you write the advance against exports orders or export, good enough. You have a flexibility of using it wherever you require it. So keep that option with you. You may or may not use it. It's very simple. Get dressed and not to go out, or go out and not to get dressed. Very simple. You have to choose it. Friends, I do that. We don't mention very specifically. Against export orders, against export pro forma invoice. Don't put the number. You have flexibility. And if you do not want, you can mention it. Then your hands are tight. Lucky enough, if you enjoy the gala party, dance party, and then export it. Good enough. No problem. What happens if you could not export it? I have a client at Bombay Central, very big builders. They are also into exports. They have a counterpart in Dubai. And many of them, these are again another practical difficulty which your exporter client will tell you. What happened? The overseas party keep on sending it on a lot, 10,000, 20,000, 10,000, 20,000, without correlating it. This happened also with us. Good enough. They see the overall, that okay, $2 lakh lena hai, $2 lakh aa gaya, that's all. Mota mota. Here, we are greater than great. We also export it. While exporting, the clerk who is export document, when it goes to a bank, he open the drawer, he open the file, anyone which is FIRC, he takes and do it up. Good enough. It's your practical convenience. This is a practical problem. What happened in our case? We did it. And whatever that you take it, the bank, and you know, provided it's a generic in the description. They debit it, they minus it out. I do a lot of audit for the Exim company. So when we went over there were a couple of FIRC left out. Please remember your obligation. As exporter, you have to ship the goods within a period of 12 months. from the date of receipt. If you don't do it, then you are violating the provision which is given it. So your limitations is that you have to do. Now in our case what happened? Suppose 12 months are over. At the moment I am handing over 2 to 3 cases of their line. Very interesting cases there. I'll continue the same, which is a Bombay Central Party. 12 months were over. What are the options available to you? A, you want to refund that. That's very normal, that whatever the reason, you cannot refund that part of it. You have to take RBI permission for return of this after the period of 12 months. That's one very clear thing. How to obtain the permission? You should be very, very clear, which I'm too sure you are, that RBI is a banker's bank. As an individual exporter cannot go directly over there. Everything is to be returned to the bank, and the bank will go to regional office, and that's how basically it takes place. We have to use this FIRC within the period of 12 months. There's one more good provision which is there. Suppose the interest is required, then LIBOR rate plus 100, you can do it out with this, provided the provision is there, there is an underlying contract, and based on that, it can be workable in this part. Well, let's see positive side. You are the holder of a FIRC, you have manufactured the goods, and you want to ship the goods. Several overseas party, when I travel, when I meet, they complain, they criticize. India mein paperwork bahut hai. And we also copy that criticism. We within ourselves also say, bahut paperwork hai. Yes, I agree that there is additional paperwork with the online things which is going on. But remember, when we live in the Rome, live like a Roman. There is no point of crying. We have to understand the documentation. Documentation is equally important, I will say very, very important for the exporters. My 2 children are not approved that I am married. I have to give marriage certificate wherever they demand it. Very simple. It's a document-oriented activities. Yesterday, full day program I have done on that. I am only taking from that the RBI. Please remember, at the time of exports, you have to submit what is called GR form, as I told earlier. Now, this GR name is changed and it has become Exchange Declaration Form, that is an EDF form. There is another form which is called SDF form. There is some confusion. Let me try to establish a clarity. Ports where your export is going, which is online, right? There you require SDF, Statutory Declaration Form. I repeat, EDI port. If your export is taking place from the EDI port, it's an EDI enabled activity of exporting. You need SDF form, Statutory Declaration Form, and if it is a non-EDI, where there is a manual, old one, you require the GR, which is now known as an Exchange Declaration Form. Are you clear with that? So they both are mutually exclusive. Whenever you are exporting, either you need a SDF or you need GR. Now it is a Exchange Declaration Form. So it can't be both. They are mutually exclusive. You can't be married and intelligent. Either of this. Okay. Well, now how it is to be done? We take any one of the form because more or less the methodology is the same. So let me take with the GR form or Exchange Declaration Form, this part of it. I will just show you flow, so you will register it well. When tomorrow you are sitting in front of the exporter, you will be perceived that you know about it. What you know is not important. What you project that you know is more important in consultancy. Okay. So let's see, for example, exporter will prepare his document. He has to prepare this exchange control form, declaration form, in 2 copies, duplicate. Okay. He has to give it to person called a clearing agent, new name. Clearing agent is now not called as a clearing agent. Remember this, if you know and your client doesn't know, you will be one up. Now clearing agent are not known as a clearing agent, they are known as a custom broker. Okay, change your terminology whenever you are using. Say them custom broker, it is nothing but a old what we are saying CHA, whether you say festival or carnival, it makes no difference. But say carnival. Okay. So, documents will be prepared. These two exchange declaration form will be given it to your custom broker, who will go to the customs. He will submit it to the customs. Now please remember, when I say custom, it is a building where the officer is sitting on the third floor under the ceiling fan in the chair. Because 90% time when I describe custom, half the people understand a big ground with the ocean behind it where the steamers are moving. There's a port, there's a dock. So have the clarity in your mind. I'm talking about a back office. I'm talking about the office. I'm talking admin office. I'm talking an office where the documents are being processed. Let us say Mrs. Sawant is the officer. The document will be presented to her. Along with a very important document is a shipping bill. Most important is a shipping bill. Two things we have been taught wrong in 7th standard by our geography teacher. What are the two things? Island, Iceland, there's no ice. Greenland, there's no green. Exactly, the shipping bill is also there. Shipping bill has got nothing to do with the shipping company. This is a very often my favorite question when I do the employment for the corporate clients of a management upper. I ask this simple question, what is shipping bill? And you won't believe, at least 5 to 6 people go wrong. They say shipping bill is a document given by shipping company. No, it's not that. It's a custom document. Well, your client exporters prepare the document, and these two copies, that's a exchange declaration form, gives it to the customs. Okay? I'm only describing what the custom officer will do with the declaration form. Okay? What is the job? This you should be very clear as a consultant. What is the job of the custom officer with reference to this? Please remember, the role, the job, the function of the custom officer is to check the valuation. Be very clear. Valuation, not the quality. Valuation of the goods. And there, if you wanted, you can write down section 14 of the Customs Act 1962. Is a very, don't read the Custom Act totally, you will go crazy. Only read section 14. That's the most relevant and direct for you. That is where 80% legal cases are there. Section 14 is good enough for you. I'll give a little background of that. It's very interesting. From 1962, section 14 was all the time referring to a valuation for import. Because the government had a perception that import people will do ghafla. So they let us do a very strict law. And there was silent, there was no provision in that on the export valuation. So export valuation was done as a general, as a declaration of a truth. 2007, remember this year, in that this section 14 was amended. And a new provision has come wherein this particular is included. Now today, export valuation as well as import valuation, both are covered by section 14. Okay, so you are the exporters, you have declared the value. With the job of a custom officer is to see that the value declared by the exporter is according to their confirmation. And that's how basically they work it out with this part of it. Okay, so the custom officer, let's say the positive thing, custom officer found that your valuation is correct. So they will certify it and the goods will be shipped, will go out of the country per se. Custom part is over. Now that two copies of an exchange declaration form or a GR form or SDF form, what you are given it to customs, pay attention, the original will be retained by the customs and it will be forwarded to the RBI. When it comes to RBI, will enter into system and wait. Duplicate copy, second copy, will be given it to your clearing agent, which will come back to your client, your customers. Here the customer, your exporter, has to be alert, otherwise he will land into trouble. He has received it. One big thing, one big mistake of the exporter does it, and these are very psychological. Assume that you have a garment factory. You have got an order for 10,000 shirts. So what will happen? The shirt gets manufactured, you keep on packing it up, you see the cartons occupying your space. So you feel that this cargo jana hai. The day it is removed, psychology, you feel export is over now. It's not over. Goods have gone, yet the formalities are yet to be done. So what happens? Now the documents what you receive, I repeat, duplicate, copy, authenticated value by the customs is received by your client exporter through the clearing agent, custom broker. What he has to do? Don't file it. I have come across several people, they file it. No, you have to submit it to your banker, to your AD bank, to your bank. You have to submit it, all the documents. There is a time limit, 21 days. Within 21, there is a very big history behind the 21 days. But it's not a time at the moment to talk because we have arranged the Olympics in the terrace. So anyhow, so I'm just cutting the, so 21 days is your time limit which you have to submit it over there. Let's say you have submitted in time, no problem. What the banker will do is that, banker will not do anything, they will simply file it. Depend upon your relationship, your methodology with the overseas buyer. Let's say payment is received after 1 month, 2 months, whatever the time period, 12 months is there, it is received. Now what? The bank, the day the payment is received, bank will take out that duplicate copy from the file, they will compare it. You have declared $10,000. You have received $10,000. They will do what? They will do 3 things. Very interesting. This is a technicality. You should have this sharpness. They will do 3 things. First, they will compare it or they will check it. They will sign it. They will certify it. And they will send it. That is, they will forward it. 3 things. Compare it, check it, send it. Technical word, if you wanted to be one up as a consultant, what is the word? Don't use this. This is what I have explained. The technical word is that the bank will release the GR. Use this word. If you want to impress your client, work hard on the terminology. Release the GR. Don't go to the bank and ask, sir, mera GR bhej diya. No. Have you released the GR? The moment you use the internal terminology, the banker also will feel, okay, this consultant knows something. This is very important. So they release that. It goes to the bank, RBI. What the RBI will do? The original which they have received it from this, from the customs, this is received from this, they will match. The moment both are one and the same, they will relinquish that particular liability and just see how we go back. The liability which you created as an exporter on the date of your shipments, by submitting this, get relinquished today. Otherwise, you will get a love letter from them. This is what is basically the things which is required for this part of it. Are we clear on this? So these are basically two questions. Now let us see some of the side points based on this. Several exporters. I have one company in Bandra. They are exporting some of the parts, mainly to the shipping companies overseas. He is a captain basically. I just went over there, they called me, and what I have observed is they have not submitted the document to the bank. There are 2 things. Either in 21 days, what is the time that you are not submitted, so you go subsequently, or it may so happen that you have totally not gone. So what is the provision? Very, very important. The FEMA, this guideline master circular, says that it is a duty of an exporter to submit it within 21 days. That's good enough. In case it is not done, then please remember the relaxation power is given to the bank. The bank has been given a power that they have to understand it, what exactly the first condition what they require is that, suppose if the payment is already realized, then there is no problem. Only thing is that they will see that the transaction is proper, everything is there, track record, everything, and they do this part of that with them. So this is one. So if it is a 21 days are over, not to worry about it. Make a good, beautiful letter, request it, you have to give the reason why this has happened, why it has been done. 90% we write, we were not aware about it, and that's good enough that you can recognize this part. So this is about the non-submission of document within 21 days. This is very, very important, and this is happening on and off by many, many exporters. Now, what the bank does, the document which you give it to them, what do they do it? The guideline is very, very clear, which is given in the master circular addressed to the banker. They say that RBI is very, very clearly given a guideline to the bank that the moment you receive the documents, don't sleep on that. You have an obligation to send it immediately, quickly, with the greatest possible efficiency to overseas, just pay attention, to overseas importers bank or your correspondent bank. Option is given to them. Okay, they can do it. Now, this is very common. Now, the irregularities which comes. A, exporter approaches the bank and say that instead of sending it to that bank, you send it to my party directly. What they wanted to do, they wanted to save the bank charges. They wanted the speed to increase. Yes, it can be done, provided there are certain criteria. The bank should be satisfied, KYC norms should be followed, and they can do it. So that's the one part. If you are a status holder, that is, if the exporter is a status holder, which is a one category given in chapter 3.10, in that this privilege is given to the exporter, that if you are a status holder, you can send the document directly to the party. There are two reasons for, or there are two benefits of this. One is you save the time, second you save the cost. Efficiency keeps on going on. That's how basically you can work it out with this part of it. So this is how basically it works out to this part of it. Third, if you are having the LC, letter of credit. For letter of credit, whenever the reference comes, please remember one document, UCP 600. This is a Bible. It has got the paragraph, it has got the clauses. UCP 600 is a Bible for any time which is on the LC is concerned. So at any point of time where the LC is there, do not refer your query reply, your opinion without referring to UCP 600. That's my personal advice to you. Keep this only 7 or 8 pages book. Just keep it assigned by only read when there is a need. But all your opinion should be. I'll give you a simple example. Very interesting, this, which has got a reflection even in FEMA. We all know when you export it, you get a bills of lading, which is a shipping company's document. What is a document? It's a title to the goods. It's a railway receipt, LR. It's a similar to transport document. Now, this is a common which we all know it. But then there is a forwarder cargo receipt is also there. That means there is a one in-between person to whom this original airway bill or BL is issued, and he issues his own BL, which is called master BL and the home BL. Now the question is whether house BL can be accepted or not. It is already given over there in UCP 600, it is given in our FEMA guideline also. It says very clearly that if it is a LC transaction, and in the LC specifically if it is mentioned that forwarder's cargo receipt can be accepted as a substitute in lieu of the BL, then only it can be accepted. That means otherwise it is not there. Suppose it is a non-LC transaction, then the contract, in that underlying contract, this clause should be very, very clear that BL or CFR will be accepted, then only accepted. In other words, if these two things are not there, then it's not a good document. It should not be considered as part of it. Is it clear? So, documentation, as I mentioned to you, is very, very important part of this. This goods what you have exported, received by the party has seen that okay, it's good enough, he sends the money within the time limit you have. Let's see the deviated cases. 100 machines you have exported. Party received it. Party, after having received it, they say 95 are good, 5 are not good. Bad. So what do? You say, okay, fine, admit it if you can. And if you want to, then the question is, okay, let's stop. What shall we want? He says, I want a reduction in the price. Do it, allow. Up to 25%, you can go for a reduction of this. Of course, you have to give the document that what is complaint and all these things. So you can have that much reduction upfront. If the payment is received, you can remit that amount also. Or if the payment is yet to come, you can reduce it out to that extent. You don't need an RBI permission. This is second situation. He says 5 machines are not working. I want to return the goods to you. Good enough. You say okay, it's worth bringing it goods over. In one of my clients' case, it has happened like that. We wanted to get it returned because we want to examine where we have gone wrong. So we have done it, the re-import of this. Now, typical situation. It's a tug of war kind of. 100 machines you have exported, 5 machines have a defect, there is a complaint, you have admitted complaint, you want to accommodate your party. These are the all conditions. Now what you are saying to the party, okay, 5 machines back, send me back. What he says? Pay my money back. So now the question is, who will do first? See, by this time, since the product has got defect, lot of bad things has happened. You know, now you are not in the same good tuning. So you will say that first you send me the machine, I'll send you the money back. They say, no, first you give me the money back, then only I'll send it. In any case, you are ready, but the question is, who will put a trust on whom? Or who will start first? So you go to your bank, you show them the provision. The bank also will use the same language. पहले माल लेके आओ, फिर लेके जाओ पैसा. No problem. But you say, no, this party is saying this other way around. Please remember the enabling provision. It's in your favor. Even if the goods are not received, but he has agreed to give it, agreed only, right? You can still remit that amount. But you have to give an undertaking. And once that is there, within 3 months, you have to bring the goods. That is your obligation. Understand your obligation, understand your rights. That's how basically you can work it out with this part. You can do this part of it. As I told you that there is a time limit which is given for the different categories of the exporters, time limit within which we have to do. Overall, you can say 12 months. Let's see the one more example. You are the exporter. You have exported the goods regularly. Today is a 12 month over. You have not received either a full amount or a part amount. 80% आया, 20% नहीं आया. What you have to do? You have to approach your bank for an extension of the time. You have to just explain to them 2 to 3 things you have to say. A, documents you have to do. Please remember, you must have routed your document through that. That's one. B, if you give it to them, give a declaration that yes, in the extension time we will be able to bring it. All those things, once you give it, the bank is allowed. Bank will generally grant half the time. It's nowhere mentioned. I am saying from the experience. Half the time than the time which is originally allowed. So they will give you 6 months. Within that you have to bring it over. Now let's see further. Today that 18th month, that is a plus 12 plus 6, 18th month is over. You have got part further, but not fully. So what is the situation? Please remember, whatever good relation, bank has no power. Now the matter will be referred to Reserve Bank for that. Reserve Bank will stipulate their condition and they will give the time. That's how basically you have to work it out. Different situation altogether. You are the exporter, you have a buyer, $10,000 you have to take from the buyer. You are making all these efforts to get this thing, work it out with this. You have taken the extension. Now the situation is such that you know, your gut feel says, अंतरात्मा की आवाज आपकी कह रही है, ये आदमी पैसा नहीं दे रहा. There are 2 things you have to remember at the back of your mind when you get the payment or when you don't get the payment. There are 2 factors which influences on the payment. One is the ability to pay, second is the willingness to pay. Both things should coexist, then only the payment will forthcome, not otherwise. Let's see a situation where you have reached to a situation, you have reached to a stage where at that point of time you have written off by yourself. Then can you write off on your own? Yes, there are 3 things what you have to remember. Very, very interesting. Many people are not aware about it. What the provision says, what the FEMA provision says. A, remember stage wise, it will be very easy for you to structure it. 5% of your annual amount outstanding that you can realize during the last year, that you can do it off. Let's say whatever it comes, you can do self write-off. That means, how exactly? Suppose you with your partner, you both are decided, okay, this party will not give it. Call the accountant, see what is your annual realization of the last calendar year, calculate 5%. If this amount is coming within that self write-off scheme, okay, then what you don't need to ask RBI. You don't need to ask bank. Just ask your wife, give the instruction to the accountant, write off. You can do it. There is a procedure which you have to follow. So do on your own. If you are status holder, then this 5% becomes 10%, right? Then further if you require, then you have to go to the bank. Your bank has got a power of 10% and thereafter it goes to the RBI. So it is